Everybody, this is Thomas Christopher of the League Winners. I'm here with Florida Atlantic head coach Zach Kittley. Coach, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me. How are you doing today?
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, man. It's all good. We're rolling here. Tuesday, little walkthrough day and meetings this morning, and have a light practice tomorrow, and gearing up for this Friday night showcase here in Flagler Credit Union Stadium Friday night at 6:30. So great week here. Looking forward to finishing this thing out the right way.
Yeah, spring ball comes and goes so fast, man, and I guess so does the season, right? So before we talk about this year, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about last year. First year head coach, one of the youngest, I believe the youngest in the FBS. Florida Atlantic finished 4-8. There was some rough patches. There was also some great patches and stuff to be looking forward to as you enter this season. So I just wanted to ask you, what's something that you believe that you succeeded at last year and something that you failed at last year in your first time as a head coach?
Yeah, man, that's a loaded question. I mean, clearly, we want to win a lot more games. I mean, I'd say that's failure number one. The biggest thing that I took away from year one for us as a team was just, and probably the most important stat of all football is that turnover margin. And we were, I don't know if we were dead last after the bowl games and all that stuff. We were very, very close to dead last in the country in that, and that's an area that, if you're that low in that, that stat, it's going to be tough to win football games. And sometimes you look at it, you look at those 4 wins that we had, and that's even kind of crazy to think we won that many games, and we had that many turnovers on offense, and we just didn't turn the ball over enough on defense, get that ball back to our offense. And so, I think that'd be the biggest thing that the biggest rough patch about the year, if you will. Clearly having Caden Veltkamp with the shoulder injury all year too, after that Memphis game, that doesn't help a whole lot either. But man, it was overall, I think you gotta step back and you gotta look at, the foundation that was laid, the ability to retain players even after a year of 4-8, the culture that we're building here, and the style of play that we do play with. I think that it was clearly, I'm never going to be happy when you look up and you win 4 games and you struggled, playing some of these really good teams in our league, and we specifically struggled on the road, but at the end of the day, you got to find some positives throughout the year. And again, I think we laid a great foundation, and looking forward to see what that looks like for us here in 2026.
Yeah, I remember you iterating after in a couple post games about the turnover margin and the importance of that, and you couldn't be more spot on. I guess that's kind of a good segue for something I wanted to ask you too. Is like, what piece of advice, looking back now, what piece of advice would you give yourself last year if you could?
Yeah, try to enjoy it as much as you can, and try to keep your head above water. It was crazy. I'm so much more comfortable, now a year now into this compared to where I was a year ago. And you never really know what to expect until you're in it and you're in the fire there. And so, again, wasn't perfect by any means, made a lot of mistakes, but felt like I definitely found my footing and will be able to put my best foot forward, as a young head coach moving forward. And so, again, just enjoy it, learn from your mistakes, and try not to beat yourself up too much over it. We tell our players, I ask my players all the time, hey man, play one snap and get to the next play. And I got to do the same thing as a coach, man. I can't let the last week affect my new week. And there's always room to improve and areas to get better. And so I've tried to approach it that way. And again, with the staff continuity that we have and a lot of the player retention that we had, it's made everything this year so far, since we started back in early January, just so much smoother, so much easier. And I think that we're all just, again, trending in the right direction for this year of 2026.
Yeah, the retention has been impressive, honestly. You don't really see a lot of that, especially now with the NIL and everything like that, which I'll ask you a little bit about later. But a lot of fans don't really realize being like a head coach of a football team is a lot more than the actual football. So how was it being able to handle the non-football side of things, like the fundraiser, donor meetings, and things like that? Was that like foreign to you, or how did you go about doing that? Did you just like, man, I don't want to be here, I just want to be on the sidelines? How was that for you?
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't foreign to me. And again, I'm not naive. My dad's been a head coach, not in football, but in track and field for a long time. And so, I grew up that way, understanding what that head coaching position means. And a lot of times you're not even coaching. Like you mentioned, you're doing fundraisers and you're out doing some separate stuff. So I knew exactly what I was going to get myself into when I took this job. As far as the head coaching role goes, but the biggest thing for me is you got to surround yourself with great people on your support staff that can help you along the way. I mean, all the off the field stuff. I've got a great chief of staff in Harrison Hanna who helps me out with a lot of the off the field stuff. And then again, you surround yourself with great coaches that can help you out with the football stuff too, especially when maybe you've got to step back a time or two here and there to go do some of those things like you mentioned, where you're not around the X's and O's as much. I had to surround myself with people that I trust that can get it done whenever I have to be away. So again, there's a lot to it for sure, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, I love every minute of it. When I wake up every morning, I'm fired up to be the head coach here and excited to get to the building every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, something unique is, I guess you're you're not just the head coach, but you're also the OC and the quarterback coach. How was that handling on your plate last year? Have you done anything this year to perhaps change your approach a little bit, or have somebody kind of help you out during practice sessions?
Yeah, so it's similar to how it was about a year ago now in spring, but I will say, especially at the quarterback position, my assistant quarterback coach, Coach Trent Vasey's been very hands on with those guys. And again, it was easier year two. I got here and I had to teach not only the players the offense, but I had to teach us a whole staff the offense as well. And so there was a lot of time consumption there of just teaching and trying to make sure everybody's on the same page. Again, more the staff than even the players, because you got to get the staff right first, because if they go into these meetings and they're not coaching it up the right way, then your players are going to be even more behind. And so again, with the whole staff continuity we had back, available to help out in other areas, whether that's other offensive positions, special teams, defense, whatever the case may be. I've been able to be a little bit more involved and help out on those phases a little bit more, to where I don't feel like I've had to solely take over the quarterback position. Again, I still do coach those guys. I watch a lot of film with them and do all that stuff too. But having Coach Vasey there has been huge for me, and he's done a lot for me this spring, definitely compared to last year.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans don't realize when you're a new coach implementing your system on players that haven't really necessarily experienced it, having the right guys within your staff, being able to teach, as you alluded to, making sure they're teaching the right things so that the players are on the same, everybody's on the same page, right? That's always important. There's another thing I wanted to ask you, because I know some coaches handle it differently, but how involved are you with the recruiting staff at the program? Like, do you have final say on the prospects the school is targeting? Are you specifically targeting certain areas and having them go out and reach out, or how does that work?
Yeah, I'm definitely involved. I'm, and this may not be the popular way to do it anymore. We don't have a general manager here, and I still want my coaches to be very involved in the recruiting process as well. We have a great scouting department here, and I do have a director of player personnel, and they kind of head everything. I've got a vision on what I want our football team to look like. And, it's their job to go out and initially try to find these guys for us and find us really good football players and great young men that we can bring into our football program that have our core values and want to be a part of our culture that we want to have here. But from there, clearly, again, I want my coaches to really get to know these young men too, because they're going to be the ones that are between the white lines coaching these guys. Right. And so I think that they've got to make sure they've got a great relationship with them too. So whenever they do get on campus here, they feel very comfortable with their position coach, because more than me being the head coach, more than the coordinators or anything like that, you're always going to spend a little bit more time with that position coach than you are anywhere else. And so you want those recruits to be very comfortable and familiar with them. And so we still have I guess if you call it the old school process, our scouting department's going to find those guys for us, and then we're going to all sit down and evaluate them from the position coach to the coordinators, and then ultimately up the ladder to me. Because again, recruiting is the lifeblood of the program, and as ever changing as it is with high school, but also the transfer portal. To me, there's a lot of talented football players out there, but the kind of character that we're looking at bringing here, to me, is the hardest part to find. And so I want to make sure that we're, dotting our I's, crossing our T's, making sure we check every box on the character piece as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I mean, fit involves everything, right? It's not just the athletic portion, but it's academic portion, mentality, their attitude. A lot of that can decide a culture, and if you're trying to build a culture the right way, you got to target the specific players you want. And it's worth being picky for, right? Now, I did want to ask you too, how has the NIL affected your job building the roster the way you want? I know you've had. I mean, we mentioned it a little bit. You've had a lot of retention. Obviously, you brought back Caden and Messer, and a handful of other guys also stayed. But how has the NFL NIL affected you, if at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's affected everybody, in this profession, at in different ways, and I think, at our level, the Power Four, the big schools, the blue bloods, whatever you want to call them, they're trying to find our best football players that have played a lot of football and come poach these guys, and
Yeah.
they know they've got a little bit bigger pockets than we do, and so depending on what kind of player you're going after, a lot of those guys will leave. And so, we had some guys last year that, I love to death that made a lot of really good plays for us last year. Basically come to me with the mindset of, hey, I want to go make money and I want to give myself a great opportunity to play at a bigger level, which again, totally respectful. Where we're at. But then again, you mentioned, Caden Veltkamp, Easton Messer, CJ Doggett. Those are three guys that we were able to take care of financially. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that they were getting heavy looks by some other programs too. And shooting their shot to get those guys in the transfer portal and offering them crazy lucrative amounts of money. But again, that kind of goes back to my recruiting philosophy on finding the right character as well. And that's what I love about those three guys that were able to stick around, and they wanted to be here. They love our culture. They like what we're building here. And guys like that lay a huge foundation for the years to come. And so I think that was huge being able to get those guys back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can kind of see other players, other people's points. They wanted to get money, but I've always been of the mindset of why not be the guy to help turn a program around, turn something into a winner. You know what I mean? That feeling is not comparable. I mean, as a couple of bucks that they could get anyway. And I think it's a little ironic. I'm sure you're aware of the talking points of fans and talking heads where they say the non-autonomy, the group of six, whatever, don't have the talent, but yet every year, the Power Four conferences always grab from you guys, and those guys end up performing. So I always think that's a very interesting tidbit. Now we mentioned, a lot of the guys that you've retained. Now, who are some new faces potentially this year as we head into not just the spring game, but into summer and fall camps that fans should be looking out for that you think could be key contributors?
Yeah, we've got a lot of new faces that I'm really excited about. Offensively, starting in the wide receiver room. I mean, Kelby Valson, transfer from Texas Tech, a kid that I coached there at Texas Tech. I recruited him to Texas Tech. He's had a tremendous spring ball. He's got a lot of juice about him. Just a really, really tremendous football player. Excited about him. Antoine Woody in the slot receiver force has had a huge spring. Our new tight end room looks a lot different than it did last year. Antonio Johnson, AJ, we call him. He's had a great spring. Brooks Johnson, big 6'5", 240-pound NFL caliber type tight end. Marcus Vincent's a guy that played for Coach Delaney as well back in the day, and he transferred over. So that's a whole facelift in that room that looks a lot different. Running back wise too, I'm excited with where we're at there. Ethan Irvin was a part of this football team last year, but ended up redshirting late, and he's had a great spring. Leonard Farrow, the Division II All-American that we got transferred in, is having a great spring as well. Different juice, got a lot of speed and explosiveness about him. Again, you got a guy named Brady Tillman that we brought in, also another Division II transfer that's really came in and done a good job. We added four new faces in that room, and Ben Galloway. We got Cortez, Akil, and Aiden Jones as well. So those four guys have came in and done a really good job. And then defensively, a guy that I've told almost every interview I've done, Blake Burris, transferred defensive tackle from SMU. He's an absolute monster. He's at about 6'5", 315 to 320 right now. Just brings a little something different than we didn't have in that defensive line room last year as far as size goes. He's been great. On the edge, we got Jonathan Bax transferring from TCU and Jay Crable transferring from Ohio. Two great edge rushers that, again, bring a little bit more juice off the edge, and I feel like we had at times last year. So excited about those guys. Joe Sipp, new linebacker transfer from Kansas, had a really good spring. And then, man, we got a lot of new faces in the secondary that I'm really excited about. And some guys returning back there as well that we're kind of moving around a little bit. But ultimately, I feel like we're longer, we're bigger, we're a little bit more talented there in the back end, but overall, just as a team in general. So excited with our portal additions, as well as some high school kids that we feel really good about. Nick St. Joseph, the true freshman mid-year enrollee from Miami Northwestern's had a great spring for us so far. Travis Jackson, true freshman cornerbacks, had a great spring for a freshman. Justin Weatherall, true freshman safeties, had a really good spring as well. So again, we feel like we've done a good job on the recruiting trail, and now we're at the point we've just got to get these guys healthy and get them ready for September.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of what you guys have done in the portal and through the recruiting. You guys have brought in a lot of talent. Now, I know last year your message to the team was different. You kind of compartmentalized things this year in terms of goals. So what goals were you trying to hit specifically this spring, if any, and have you succeeded in hitting those leading up to the spring game?
Yeah, number one emphasis was on the ball. And when I say the ball, I'm talking about that turnover margin, like just the emphasis on both sides of the football. So offensively, clearly that means protecting the football, not throw interceptions, right? And then on the flip side of that, defensively, is let's make an emphasis on getting that ball back, punching that ball out, creating havoc in the secondary to create some more interceptions. And it's been good. In spring ball, that's always a double-edged sword, right? Because you want to see your defense take the ball away, but you don't want to see your offense turn the ball over. So I do feel like it's been a good mixture of both, to where we're making great plays on both sides of the ball. But that's an area where I can already tell you right now that we've put more emphasis on it. And again, that's a learning moment for me that I should have been better at that last year. But just the emphasis on the football, I think has been tremendous for us this spring. And that was really the main priority, was the ball. And then always it's the health of the team and making sure we're taking care of our teammates, since we're going against each other every day. Those have been the main two things is let's stay healthy and let's get better at protecting that football and taking that football away.
Yeah, now, so I wanted to ask too. Obviously, we talked about Caden Veltkamp a little bit. He's not healthy right now from shoulder surgery. How's his progress been? How's he looking to get ready for summer? And what's your confidence level in him? Being year two in this offense with a lot of really great parts you guys have.
Yeah, well, as far as the recovery process coming, he's doing great. He actually got cleared to where if I wanted to play him in the spring game on Friday night, he'd be able to do that. Just something I don't want to do. I don't want to throw him out there his first day back, with the real defense and some stuff like that out there, a real pass rush. I just don't think that's the smartest decision for our football program or him. But he's doing great. I mean, he's been able to throw some 7-on-7 for us in practice. He's been really, really good, taking care of the football. Being able to read defenses at an extremely high level. And that's what I'm mainly excited for is, his ability to take that game to the next level with the second year in the system here. And so, again, we talked about all the weapons that we have at his disposal now. And so I'm excited with where he's going to be. Again, I think if we can keep him healthy and we can keep the guys around him healthy, this could be a massive, massive year for Caden.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the retention and having not just retention, but talented retention in a conference that saw a lot of teams lose that. I think that really gives you guys an edge, especially this season. So I guess that's going to segue into my final question for you, Coach. What are your messages to the fans about Florida Atlantic football? What should they be excited about, and what should they expect out of Coach Kittley led Owls?
Yeah, I mean, I said it all last year, and again, we're never going to be excited about the 4-8 record, but I think the fans are going to be excited with the brand of football that we play, just with the aggressive nature that we have on all three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. And I think we have the ability to have a really great year here. So stick with us. We need everybody in the to create a home field advantage here in the flag every Saturday that we have our home games, and we have an unbelievable home slate this year. Some big time teams coming into Boca Raton. And so we've got to have the whole community out. We got to have the whole student body out. We've got to be able to create a home field advantage for our student athletes here. And again, you're going to like the style of football that we play. We're going to be fast. We're going to be aggressive. And I think I keep using that word health, but that's just going to be such a key piece. And if we can stay healthy, I think we're going to have a heck of a year.